and Olabisi Deji Folutile. Vicky, welcome to the program. Madam, it's so good to see you again. Welcome to the program. Yeah. All right, let the discussion begins. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. As a country, we tend to refuse to learn from history. Hence, we usually find ourselves in situations where ugly things are repeated. The ruling People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State may go into the 2023 general elections with a divided house if the party's national leadership fails to address the fallout of the state's primaries. An aggrieved aspirant, Ambassador Abubakar Jamilu Waziri, has gone to court to challenge his alleged exclusion from the state governorship primaries of the PDP. Other aspirants are also threatening to leave the party, despite recent reconciliation efforts by a committee set up by Governor Ahmadu Fintiri to consider positions of the aggrieved aspirants. Let's share that story with you, as filed by TVC News correspondent Owolabi Adenusi.
This may not be the best of times for the People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State, which is now embroiled in internal crisis after its primaries. As a result, PDP and Independent National Electoral Commission have been dragged to the Federal High Court in Abuja by Ambassador Abubakar Jamilu Waziri, a gubernatorial aspirant who, despite being cleared by the PDP national hierarchy, was excluded in the primaries that produced Governor Ahmadu Fintiri. His prayers are that he should be declared winner or that the electoral umpire conduct fresh primaries to usher in popular candidates. Ambassador Jamilu Waziri is not only aggrieved, as majority of PDP aspirants from the State House of Assembly to National Assembly are still aggrieved over what they describe as imposition of candidate by the party leader, Governor Ahmadu Fintiri. Some aggrieved aspirants shared their experiences with TVC News on the controversial primaries and the intrigue that followed.
We are aggrieved because of the nature of the primaries that was conducted in Adamawa State on the 22nd of May 2022. And what has made us to be aggrieved was because the primaries was not held under a democratic atmosphere whereby things should be run free and fair for all aspirants contesting to be able to go into a contest and come out with a unanimous candidate that everybody will support. At the end of the day, the primaries was manipulated to the interest of specific individuals and party men that were unpicked by either party leadership or the state governor. And at the end of the day, all other party aspirants that use their hard-earned money, use their supporters, had goodwill in their parties and constituencies. We are now screened out of the process, even after being legally screened by the party, to now go into contest. So, because democratic tenets were not being upheld and the primaries was flawed, it has made us feel aggrieved because we are edged out. Not because we are not favorable, not because we are not popular, but because this issue of anointed candidates had been taken over and above board. And at the end of the day, it defeated the essence of the primary election, or bringing out the best that can contest and have the flag of the party to stand against any other party in the general election, so that a party that is more popular and a candidate that is more popular can win. So we are aggrieved because we've been edged out politically.
Part of the reason why PDP lost election in 2019 is because of lack of internal democracy. Because during the primaries, unpopular candidates were given tickets, denying those that are popular. So at the end of the day, that from the primaries, it went to the general election because people were aggrieved, people were not happy with the way things were done, and in that they voted against the party. So and I believe in every democracy, inter-democracy matters a lot. Why there's no inter-democracy, at the end of the day, you hardly get the result. Party colors and gave us the assurance that there's going to be free and fair primaries, everybody will be given equal opportunity to participate in the primaries. But to be honest, that is not what transpired in the party. From the process of selecting the delegate, the delegates were given to just certain individuals that the party want to favor. Also, delegates were to be democratically elected from the ward. That was not done. So the lists were given to those that will be favored. They sat down and penciled the names of their cronies. And as a contestant, if you don't have access to delegate, there's no way you go to the primaries and have any vote, because already the votes were given to one single individual. That was what happened. We show our grievances. We've written to the party. We have written to the there's a reconciliation committee that was set up. We have written to them our position as members of the party. We want the right thing to be done so that it will serve as a deterrent to those coming behind. You know, if we continue like that, our democracy will never grow in this country.
We, the aggrieved one, we put our heads together, coming up together, so that we ensure that we are together in taking decisions. Secondly, for the government, fortunately for them, they have already set up a committee to reconcile, a reconciliatory committee by the government. So they are inviting the aggrieved parties, the aggrieved people, local government by local government. They are still on it, especially my own local government area, Jada. We were invited. We went to the reconciliatory committee members. We spoke our mind to them vividly.
Some of the view that the Zamfara experience may be repeated in the state if right step is not adopted by the national leadership of the PDP.
When political issues are not handled well, it leads to an outburst. It's like when you beat a child and you don't allow the child to cry. The child will now have to be holding the pin within himself, and you become very, very repulsive. The party as it is lost election in 2015 because of lack of internal mechanisms that were not handled well. This time around, it is repeating itself, particularly in Adamawa State. Adamawa got PDP into power because there was a free and fair election in 2019. But the process has changed. To lay a foundation to people that have left, you know, before even some people went to the courts, some left because after the primaries, they didn't feel it was conducted well, so they left immediately because they didn't even have the energy to go to court. Some have jumped ship to other parties. Those that have still believed that in the party stayed and wanted to go and fight their rights in the court. Some of us that are still in the party are remaining faithful because we want to exhaust internal mechanisms. And that was why most of us that are under these auspices of the House of Assembly aggrieved PDP members or aspirants stayed in the party, and we looked for a way to ventilate those avenues. We've had our first summit on the 26th of July, where all of us, 108 of us, came for a meeting. We discussed the experiences of the primaries, and we now said we want to have a resolution that we'll present to the governor. We did that to the office of the chairman of the party. We did that to the committee that had been set by the governor in the reconciliation processes that is still ongoing. Until date, I'm telling you now, is 3 months down the line since the primaries, and since when we have been exhausting these avenues, till date nothing has happened. So you see, if people begin to get angry and begin to do some funny things that may be seen or termed as anti-party activities or see-don't-look approach, it may end up affecting the fortunes of the party. But if the party knows what to do in the right time to assuage people, pacify them well, and make them know that everybody is a stakeholder in this process, and we feel comfortable with those processes, I feel it will now help the fortunes of the party to win the elections in the general elections coming next year. And if you don't sort out these things before the campaigns commence immediately, people will become busy that we will not have time for sorting out issues.
Meanwhile, Governor Ahmadu Fintiri has distanced himself from the plight of the aggrieved members. saying that the primaries was the sole responsibility of the party. Its Director General on Media and Publicity, Solomon Kumanga, insists that the governor, as the leader of the party, has constituted a reconciliation committee charged to heal the wounds of the aggrieved members.
Governor Fintri is a Democrat who has not imposed his will on any of the candidates that have emerged during the primaries. However, be that as it is, since it's a democratic process, the losers are bound to feel aggrieved and to assume that somebody somewhere else is responsible for their own failure in the primaries. However, in view of these facts and in view of the fact that the governor is a Democrat, he has set up a high-powered committee to reconcile and also reach out to aggrieved members, especially those people who lost out in the primaries, both in the National Assembly primaries and the State House of Assembly primaries, to ensure that the party goes on into the election and into the campaigns as one solid, indivisible family. And as we are talking to you today, almost about 17 local government areas have been reached by this committee, and in a couple of weeks they will present their report, after which all the aggrieved members, all the aggrieved stakeholders will come together and now move ahead as one happy family.
The governor added that as a Democrat, he has no power to stop the court case instituted by the aggrieved to challenge the primaries. He, however, appealed to the members to channel their grievances through party mechanism.
Governor, as a Democrat, cannot stop you from going to court if you feel aggrieved. But in democracy such as this, each and every person should endeavor to explore and exploit the internal mechanism of the party before going to court. Because if you take somebody to court, there's a tendency that there's a tendency that the division within the party will be exacerbated.
The former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, in a rally in Adamawa State, appealed to the electorate to give Governor Fintiri a second chance.
All right, definitely not the best of time for PDP in Adamawa State. BKO.
Yeah, from the look of things, some powerful people in the PDP made up their minds that Governor Fintri must be the sole aspirant. So they made sure that no one contested against him. And in doing this, they went against their own party guidelines. They went against the Electoral Act. This is the source of the problem. You can't have a situation in which you disqualified someone illegally. The person then proceeded to appeal. Every party conducting a primary election sets up an appeal committee to address grievances of the aspirants. They set up the appeal committee. The appeal committee cleared that person who was disqualified from contesting. That's Ambassador MJZ Abaka Waziri, a former chief protocol officer to President Goodluck Jonathan. Now, against the decision of the appeal committee that cleared him to contest, because what they claimed was that he was not paying his dues. But his local government chapter of the APC proceeded to provide evidence that he was paying his dues. So the appeal panel had no choice but to say he is fit to contest. Only for the National Working Committee of the party to refuse to implement the decision of the appeal panel. This is impunity of the crudest form. And it's such a shame that our politicians, our political parties never learn. In Anambra State, the APC conducted what it called primaries. They conducted a joke that they called gubernatorial primaries. And Andy Uba emerged as the winner of the fake governorship primaries of the APC. What did we see? Andy Uba was taken to court, the party was taken to court, and the courts ruled right up to the apex court of our land, the Supreme Court, that Andy Uba emerged from an illegal primary, a process that was in contravention of the Electoral Act as well as the party's guidelines. Therefore, the Supreme Court affirmed that Andy Uba was not even a candidate in the election that he already lost. So the Supreme Court ordered INEC to delete Andy Uba's name from his records as having contested. You can imagine, which means that if APC had won that election, that's how they would have been disqualified, and the party that came second will have taken it just the way it happened in Bayelsa. And before it got to this point, Ambassador Waziri even filed an injunction seeking to stop the process and ensure that the court ruled that he must participate in the process. But in spite of being served the court processes, they went ahead with the sham that they called primary election. I've never seen where politicians are as greedy for power and are extremely selfish as we have in our country. And they don't learn. We saw what happened in Zamfara. What happened in Zamfara? You claim that, what happened in Zamfara was the case of everybody agreeing to consensus. But as we later discovered, 3 different groups were pulling in different directions. They didn't agree. And what the law says is that even if one candidate or one aspirant says, I disagree, then you must go through an election. The consensus agreement has failed. But 3 different groups, 3 different factions within Zamfara APC did not agree to the idea. The governor was playing his own game. The national leadership too was trying to impose their own candidates. At the end of the day, APC lost from a winning position. This sort of thing could happen to them again in Adamawa. If Ambassador Waziri is able to prove that indeed he was cheated. Because you can say that, party primaries are the internal affairs of political parties. But the law must be complied with. And it's designed in such a way so that even though it's your internal affairs, you must ensure a level playing field. You must ensure that even your own laws, your own guidelines, and the Electoral Act and the Constitution of our country is followed. Where it's not followed, the courts have an obligation to say, okay, this whole process we cancel. So that's there are other grounds. Maybe as we go on, I will explain further.
Will history repeat itself in Adamawa State?
It depends on the aggrieved candidates and also the stand of the judiciary on the matter. Because as he has rightly put it, this is common to politicians in our own climb, and because they get away with this kind of impunity, it keeps repeating itself, and you will be surprised that even the party members sometimes they contribute to this level of impunity across party level. But I believe that until we begin to take steps to sanitize the process, we will keep on getting this kind of thing. This kind of thing will keep repeating itself. Now, why am I saying that? If it is possible for PDP to sort itself out which can be done in different ways that may not even be palatable. You know, they move on, and another season comes, the same thing repeats itself. But if the aggrieved people can stand their ground and allow the process to run through, the judicial process, then you know that parties can learn from their failures. For me, it's because the processes, the legal processes, have not been allowed to run through most of the time. That is why this kind of impunity keeps repeating itself from time to time. So, yes, depending on the candidates, history can repeat itself. So, but we only need to wait and see.
All right, I have this very vital question, because if the party does not want other aspirants to run against incumbent governors outside of whatever is happening in Adamawa State now, why allow them to spend enormous money on buying forms and paying several obligatory dues?
Good question, because in Anambra, the Supreme Court ordered the party to refund to the appellant what was taken from him by way of expression of money for expression of interest form. Because what is the point? You made up your mind that only one person will contest against himself, and but you go ahead and take money from so many people. You know, I still don't even believe that Fintiri cannot on his own win a primary election. Why the desperation to get somebody out of the contest? Was the governor simply afraid that, these people could gang up and then he will be defeated? Was he afraid of his own shadow, or he didn't think that he had played the role of a team player in this last almost 4 years, to the point that his own people can gang up against him? It's difficult to defeat an incumbent in a flat-out primary election like the ones we have in our country. Yet you still now go against the law just to achieve your aim of ensuring that nobody stands against him. Who is he that nobody should stand against him? Who is a governor? Is a governor God that no one should stand against him? People that he can defeat? So these parties, sometimes you wonder what really is their problem. Because this kind of problems that they are creating are needless. Look at the NWC of the PDP saying that it can play other people's roles in an emergency. How was that primary election an emergency affair? Then you set up an appeal panel. The appeal panel said this person was validly cleared to contest. It rubbished the grounds upon which he was disqualified and said he's free to contest. Yet you still refuse to let him take part in the contest. How can we grow our democracy when people have this kind of mindset that they are bigger than the rest of us, that it is what they want that must happen? I mean, people need to stop this kind of behavior. You will see, even in the APC, in some of the states, the crisis that greedy politicians created is going to cause the party to lose some states. So I'm not surprised. Beyond even parties, beyond even agreed people ganging up and all that, you can even lose in the courts.
Absolutely.
Because if the courts deem your action to be against the rights of the aspirant, you can take a decision by saying, look, what you conducted was not a primary election, which was what happened in Anambra. They claimed that, hundreds of thousands of people took part in the sham primary election, conducted by a governor, because what the parties do is they post governors to go and conduct primaries. And those primaries, at the end of the day, you will see that they do not even follow due process. How can a governor feel proud to preside over a non-event? What's going on?
All right, so let's take a breather. We'll take a commercial now, and then we'll be right back for more discussion.
The federal government, through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, announces the availability of COVID-19 and childhood vaccines nationwide. With the disturbing increase in reported cases of COVID-19 infections across Nigeria, protect yourself and loved ones from the harmful virus by getting vaccinated. Visit the nearest public or private health facility and mass vaccination sites today to receive the first, second or booster doses of COVID-19 vaccines. COVID-19 vaccines are given to persons 18 years and above, including pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers, while childhood vaccines are given to children from birth to 5 years for protection against polio, hepatitis, yellow fever, measles, meningitis, and other vaccines-preventable diseases. All vaccines are free, safe, and effective. For inquiries, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng or call 0700-220-1122.
This message is from NPHCDA in partnership with the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from MacArthur Foundation.
All right, welcome back. This is still Journalist Hangouts. Now, joining us via Zoom for more insight on this issue is a lawyer and advocate for good governance, justice, and equity, Libras Oshoma. Thank you for joining us, Libras. Good evening.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. Good evening.
All right.
And good evening to Titoju and the other guests that I didn't get to say name, but I think I know the voice.
Good evening. All right, tell us, what does the Electoral Act say about issue of exclusion and disqualification of aspirants by political parties?
Yeah, I think you're talking about section 84(3) of the Electoral Act. The essence, let me quickly read that section. It says a political party shall not impose nomination, qualification or disqualification criteria, measure or conditions on any aspirant or candidate for any election in its constitution, guideline or rules for nomination of candidate for election, except as prescribed under section 65, 66, 106, 107, 131, 137, 177, and 187 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. I think what that section is actually trying to cure is a situation where the Electoral Act, create the constitution of the party create guidelines that are not part of the guidelines prescribed in the Constitution. And we all know that the guideline prescribed in the Constitution is that, one, you must have reached the age of qualification. You also must have the necessary credentials, in this case, for governorship, president, and deputy governor and vice president, school SAT, or its equivalent. You must not be a bankrupt, you must not be an ex-convict, and all of those criteria. So the Electoral Act is simply saying that the guideline of the political party or its constitution for qualification or disqualification must not conflict with the provisions of the provisions laid down for qualification or disqualification by the Constitution. And so, we all know, any guideline that is laid down in the rules of the party or the constitution of the party that is contrary to the rules already laid down by the Constitution, to the extent of its inconsistency, is therefore null and void. It's only here that when issues like that happen, we now begin to go to court to litigate matters that are already clear. Your guidelines for qualification for election must be the guideline already laid down in the Constitution. That's what that section is basically saying.
Okay. Where a party duly constitutes an appeals committee or an appeals panel, and the appeal panel says cleared to contest, does the National Working Committee of the party have the power, without stating its own reasons for disqualifying the candidate, then proceed to disqualify?
The first and foremost, the guidelines of the political party for qualification or disqualification
must be so clear as laid down in the Constitution. What it means is that, first and foremost, it is the guideline that is in the Constitution that guides qualification or disqualification. Any other guideline or rules and regulation imposed by the party, it's null and void. It's a nullity. Then secondly, the essence of an appeal committee, is to look at the irregularities that had been taken in the process of screening candidates for election, verification. And a screening committee really is to verify credentials that had been, essence of a screening committee is to verify credentials that had been presented by candidates. And if the candidate feels that justice had not been done in the process of screening, he has a right by the party rules to appeal to an appeal committee. The appeal committee, once the appeal committee gives a decision, it is not in the body of the National Working Committee now to begin to sit on appeal over the decision of the appeal committee. So once an appeal committee gives a decision on screening of candidates, that decision is final. If there would be any review on such, it is not in the National Working Committee to so do. And once they do that, and the matter gets to court, automatically, I know the court is going to void such decision. And even if, assuming without conceding that that is the position, it is you cannot disqualify a candidate without stating the reasons for disqualification, yes, which must be contained in the provisions laid down or in the Constitution and as prescribed by Section 84(3) of the Electoral Act. So you don't just say because I don't like, otherwise you can just wake up and say, I don't like the face of Babajide Otitoju, so he's hereby disqualified. And that was what cost the APC the election in Edo State. If you remember, the APC, because of the problem, the internal problem of between the sitting governor and the national chairman, then national chairman of the party, they created stumbling block to ensure that the candidate, is not screened or qualified from standing for election, despite having screened him in his first term on the basis of this same credentials. And when the matter eventually, Doug went to court, but he had left the party, the court said that the party didn't have, such powers to so do. Even the matter of certificate forgery and the rest went to court. And the Supreme Court came down heavily, on the applicant. So in the same vein, the National Working Committee does not have the power to so do once the screening committee has cleared a candidate. It is not within the powers of the National Working Committee to sit down in their office and begin to sit on appeal over decisions taken by the appeal committee.
Why do our politicians behave in this manner? I have my reasons, but I don't know whether my reasons are your own reasons. Why do you know what the law says? It's not as if you have the judiciary in your pocket and you risk bringing down the roof by recklessly going against your own electoral guidelines and even the Electoral Act and the Constitution. Why do they behave in this manner?
Yeah, that's we all know why they behave that way, because two reasons. We have been so weaponized by the politicians with poverty that we see politics. Everybody now see politics as a way out of this poverty and as a way to becoming relevant. And that is why our governors become emperor, our political office holders who are supposed to be serving us, we end up serving them. And so when that happens, and then there's sycophancy, there's so much sycophancy because of hunger. So the politicians, assume a larger than life image. And what they do, they circumvent the law and tell you to go to court. Knowing fully well also that the windmill of justice grind here slowly, but we say surely. But we forget that justice delayed is justice denied, which was the reason for the amendments to the Constitution and the Electoral Act to abridge the time for electoral matters. That is why even if you get to the Supreme Court today, most of the cases that you have at the Supreme Court are pre-election matters. Immediately after the primaries, INEC issued a press release that they were defending about 335 cases because of so many irregularities, orchestrated by the politicians. So one would have expected that in some of these cases, the rules are clear. And then lastly, because there are no penalties, in cases where even the law comes down heavily, the court comes down heavily, like the case of Anambra that you cited, when the court, did instruct that political parties should refund money. How many of these laws, these judgments are obeyed? They are obeyed in default. And so you find out that the judgment are hardly executed. The court cannot on their own go all out to begin to execute the orders that are made. You still have the executive people in the executive who are part of the system, who are part of the impunity, being those that will execute court judgment. So that is why you find in some cases, a governor will tell you, we are still studying the judgment. In some cases, they tell you, well, we will obey the judgment, as if it's in their mouth to say they will not obey. So that's the unfortunate situation we find ourselves. The police is not independent, that is supposed to execute some of these judgments. Even the Attorney General, in some cases, that should be executing some of these judgments, also is an arm and a leg of the government in some cases. So you see everybody look the other way. That's why, and when in the absence of the power, of an independent power to execute court judgment, it becomes impunity reigns supreme. That's why in most cases, as I tell you, some political parties are not going to feed candidates in this forthcoming election because of some of these crises that we see play out. Where look at Akwa Ibom, look at Adamawa, look at Delta State, look at Borno State. The impunity is just everywhere. It is part of this impunity that makes us consistently amend the Electoral Act to begin to make laws on issues that ordinarily should be left to discretion.
All right, Mr. Libras, I would like to ask you before we let you go, what is your message to all political parties concerning exclusion and disqualification of aspirants?
Yeah, my message to them is the fact that the rules have been laid down. The only way we can be respected among Community of Nations, and when we go out, people will see us truly as practicing democracy, is to play by the rules. Today, you are on the table. Tomorrow, you can be outside of the door. And this same impunity, this same precedent that you set today in disobedience to the rule, would then certainly be used against you. So let's not create a do-or-die situation where Nigerians are not known to observe the rules. Simple cases, let's not end up going to court over matters that are clear. And that's why you see, just like Eleke debate, INEC keep innovating to say, okay, we want to innovate a technology that will ensure that you cannot circumvent the process. Until we get to that level also, and if the politicians do not change, then it will become unfortunate and will just become a laughingstock in the Committee of Nations. And then some of them, their actions and inaction might cost their political party, the ticket. And I also want to appeal to Nigerians that we should no longer sentimentally follow politicians, but consistently ask about antecedents, what they have done and what they can do. All
right. Thank you very much, Mr. Libras Oshoma, for sharing your time with us on this particular discussion. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Mr. Libras Oshoma is a lawyer and advocate for good governance, justice, and equity. Thank you very much. All right. Bikio. Madam Olabisi, what exactly is the root of our anyhowness in this country?
You have said it now. The root is impunity. The root is the fact that you are more powerful than the system. You are more powerful than the process. There is no rule of law. And when you don't follow the rule of law, there is no punishment, no deterrence, nothing. So everybody is too powerful than the system that created them, you understand, than the government, that the authority that is supposed to guide them, than the constitution that is supposed to be binding on everybody. So when you are as a leader, you are more powerful than the constitution, either at the party level, state or national level, then you become a mini god. And once you become a mini god and you see people just bowing and worshiping you, what do you think will happen? I think that is just the main problem. And like you said, we have weaponized poverty, which is probably why all of these things are happening.
Okay, your final thought.
It is the impunity that I'm bothered about. For example, Ambassador Waziri filed a notice for interlocutory injunction And they were served on the 17th of May, but they ignored it and went ahead to conduct the sham primaries on the 25th of May. So they got the processes in good time for them to do the right thing, but they refused. Governors in Nigeria see themselves as God of men. That, look, I don't need to be a team player. It is what I want that must prevail. They become even bigger than the people who helped them to get to power. But even in doing that, they become scared of their own shadows. Libra said something that resonates with me. He said, when you take some illegal steps, ultimately, you could become a victim of that kind of action that you took. Some of these governors will end up in the Senate, and you will see the incumbent governor of their states harassing them, ensuring that the process is not transparent so that they are unable to return to the Senate. Go and look at the number of senators who could not return to the Senate this term, the number of House of Reps members who could not return to the House of Reps this term. Largely, governors have been blamed for this because the governors control the party structures in the states. They determine who becomes a delegate and all that. So you are wielding power today, that you don't want people to contest against you because you think you are bigger than everybody and the system. One day, somebody will become governor after you've left office and you've moved on. And that person will oppress you with the same seat, the same seat that you use to oppress people. This is my final word on this.
Thank you very much, Bikio. Thank you, Madam Olabisi. Now let's quickly take another dimension. For the authorities in Zamfara State, an opportunity for lasting peace that has eluded the Northwest State is on the table, and they are grabbing it from sleeping away. They are about to strike a peace deal with a notorious bandit troubling the area. But the Zamfara Committee on Prosecution of Bandit-Related Offences says bandit kingpin Bello Turji must publicly surrender his arms before his repentance can be recognized. At a press briefing in Guze, the chairman of the committee, Abdullahi Shinkafi, said there will not be a party to any dialogue with bandits because most of them are not sincere. Before we start our discussion, let's share a story regarding the issue with you.
A few months after Bello Batoli's resumption in office as the Zamfara State governor in 2019, he introduced a peace dialogue with bandits as a way of ending the over a decade-long issues of banditry, cattle rustling, and kidnapping for ransom. Several bandits, including Awolu Daudawa, who masterminded the abduction of students in Kankara, Katsina State in December 2020, publicly surrendered their arms and told the path of peace. Barely 2 years into the program, some of the bandits returned to the bush and resumed operations. A development that forced the state governor Bello Matawale in September 2021 to cancel the peace dialogue and direct citizens to defend themselves against any attack. Since then, several bandit groups had gained notoriety operating in several parts, with bandit leader Bello Turji particularly feared for how brutally his gang operated. Now he has decided to embrace peace and further threaten to deal with any bandit who refuses to stop attacking communities and highways. It is not surprising that the State Committee on Prosecution of Banditry and Related Offences is taking his truce offer with a pinch of salt. It insists that until Bello Turji publicly surrenders his arms and renounces publicly, they will not consider him serious.
In fairness to him, he repented, but yet he's yet to surrender his arms and ammunition and disband his camp. Once you say you repent, you have to submit all your guns, all your rocket launchers, all your machine gun, all your AK-49, arms and ammunition, military uniform, police uniform, and even motorcycles.
The committee is not happy at delay in judgment for suspected bandits, informants, and security operatives caught aiding banditry. This, it says, is frustrating government's efforts in the war against banditry.
Somebody are claiming they killed more than 100 people, 200 people, and you arrest them and say you are taking them to court. For what? Why shouldn't you send them to their creator?
Bello Turji's decision to embrace peace is coming barely 2 months after another kidnapped kingpin, Adua Liru, who had terrorized communities in Safi and parts of Katsina State, had laid down arms and was turbaned as the Sarkin Fulani of Yendoto Emirates. This generated outrage impetus that led to the suspension of the emir by the Zamfara State government.
All right, then. Now, let's look at this carefully. Should we still be embracing this repent, lay down their arms approach? BKO? Because it barely looks like an insult to...
I read that story. It appears to have emanated from the deputy governor of the state. I don't think any serious individual should be thinking of amnesty with these guys, because you've tried it in the past. What did you achieve? Okay. Immediately Governor Matawale got into office, he came up with an amnesty program. Even the former the former IG sent the commissioner of police to be part of the meeting. And one of the bandits was boasting in the presence of the CP that, look, it's just God that he feared. That nobody, that not even the army of Nigerian Federation can bring him to justice. That he just feared God. That was why he came to be part of that meeting. You can imagine.
That's why it's easy for them to go back.
So, when they say they are laying down their arms, they just surrender a few. Look at that video that you saw. Just a few weapons. They are not fools. They keep the rest in the bush. After they deceived you, you've given them money, believing that indeed they have embraced amnesty. They go back to the bush. Their weapons that they kept there will still be useful. They don't surrender. Look at Bello Tuji. If Bello Tuji were to be part of this, what is this to them? They have much more. They have some weapons that even Nigerian troops will see and they will be scared. So they will now bring a few of their weapons to deceive you. Anybody who wants to negotiate with bandits must first get the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force involved, because most of the time you don't tell them anything. And you saw what happened in Benue. The guy, that's Ghana, he had been given amnesty once. Tewase, Ghana. He breached it, went back to killing people. Then again, it was suggested that they should give him a second amnesty. So as they were taking him from Katsina to Government House to meet the governor, Nigerian Army blocked the highway and served their own peculiar justice to him. And the argument of the army was that they've never seen where somebody got amnesty twice. This is somebody who has killed a good number of their men. How do you want them to be happy that you are now going to... The stadium was full. They received him as a hero. Bello Tuji, right now the Air Force is bombarding these guys, using a lot of their platform, including unmanned area vehicles. They are bombarding them. The moment Bello Tuji feels a bit of heat, you start talking about amnesty so that they can calm down. Because I remember even those ones that I interviewed in 2019, they were saying now they have repented, they should stop the Air Force from bombing them. They are just looking for some form of respite. And I will advise the Nigerian military, whatever Governor Matawale or anybody says, continue to bombard these people. If the Zamfara governor feels that, okay, he wants to do amnesty, let him do amnesty on his own. Let the army continue the attack on these guys. There are more than 30 bandit leaders in the Zamfara Katsina axis. If you negotiate with Bello Tuji, how about the rest of them? Absolutely. You still have Adoha Lero, you still have Dankreme, you still have others. What are you going to do with them? You still have Dogo Gide harassing and killing people in the Brenengwari and Niger area. So how many are we going to negotiate with? How many are we going to make peace with? And he is claiming that, oh, he has started killing fellow bandits. Where are the bandits that he has killed? Has he killed a major bandit leader? Dogo Gide killed Buhari Ndaji. It was not the government that told him to go and kill him. He killed him for his own personal. So let's not believe the stories emanating from Bello Tuji, a boy who is now up to 30 years, holding a whole country to ransom. I mean, it's terrible.
Alabisi.
I read an interview he granted in March 2022. And one of the questions was, why did you renege on the peace path? Because this is not the first time that he's claiming to lay down his hands. And I just want to tell you what he said. He said they should realize that they are all Nigerians, that they cannot guarantee, we cannot, let me just read this out. He said, everyone knows how we are. We are human. We cannot guarantee to keep all the promises we made. But the leaders ought to be steadfast and pacify us. In other words, it is the responsibility of Nigerian government to keep pacifying them. And whatever they give out as their conditionalities for that pacification, so to say, is what is what we should go with. We should keep appeasing and appealing to their mentality, pleading with them, and and if you read that interview, honestly, I had a different understanding of the operations of these people after reading that interview. This is somebody that was saying that yes, he's a Muslim, and that whoever thinks is not one, that is the business of that person. And he even justifies killings, and he will tell you that
Don't say anything about
he will tell you that evil is being lenient.
Yes.
That they are not killing. And why are they still there? That they have the power to kill them. They have the power to do anything with them. And when you see,
it's very annoying.
When you see individuals, non-state actors, talking down on government, on constituted authority, you just imagine, you wonder, how many lives does he have? That's just the question. How many lives does he have that he has to keep killing and killing hundreds of people for his own life to be? And he thinks that he has the power to just put every other person.
All right, finally, before we go, Bike, we saw Abdullahi Shinkafi saying, I'm not part of this negotiation deal. Count me out.
Yes, and he said that with a reason. Anyone bestial nature would not want to have anything to do with them. It's just like telling me now, when I've gone to areas where they kill people, I've gone to interview people, you saw a man, an old man, crying in public.
All right.
They've destroyed them. Some of them don't even know where their children are. So how can you or someone like me who has seen the suffering of people in the hands of these guys be happy that some form of amnesty is coming? No, forget it. Bello Tuji is just using Zamfara people to catch cruise.
All right. Thank you very much.
Using them to catch cruise.
Thank you for your perspective on the show. Madam Olabisi, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for sharing your insight with us on the show. All right, and thank you for watching. That's all we have for you on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Join us to stop crude oil and product theft at production sites, on the pipeline, at terminals, at the depots, on vessels, at refineries. Help stop crude oil and product theft. Report infringements to www.stopcrudetheft.com. You can also validate genuine purchase at validate.stopcrudetheft.com. Please report and be rewarded. This message is from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the biggest Copper Chef collection yet, the Copper Chef Dream Collection. Each pan in the Dream Collection features Copper Chef's stainless steel induction plate that heats your food quickly and evenly with no hot spots, making it perfect for any surface, electric, gas, ceramic and induction. You could be paying over 500,000 naira for a collection of pans that are not even non-stick. But call the number on your screen now and get the Copper Chef Dream Collection for not 500,000 naira, not even 300,000 naira, but for just 249,900 naira only. This incredible ShopX TV offer includes the amazing Wonder Cooker, 2 extra large pans, 2 standard pans, 1 square frying pan, 1 round frying pan, 6 tempered glass lids, 2 standard deep fry baskets, 2 extra large deep fry baskets, 2 streamer racks, 1 copper crispy basket, 8 recommended non-stick spoons, and 2 award-winning thesis recipe book for just 249,900 naira only. But that's not all.
ShopX TV is also proud to introduce the Ultimate Collection. This special collection is an upgrade to the Dream Collection, and its amazing offer includes the Titan Peeler. This incredible tool that peels potatoes and vegetables in an instant. This incredible peeler is so sharp it glides through anything, and it's made from 100% stainless steel. It will never get dull or break. And we're still not done. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the trusted Butcher Professional Chef's Knife, engineered with super steel, which means it can cut through anything. The super steel blade is sharper than regular knives to tackle any job in your kitchen. There's nothing this knife can't cut. The trusted Butcher Knife's super steel construction is harder than regular knives. It's polished and sharpened so the blades will stay super sharp. The Butcher Knife is perfectly balanced, which means a comfortable knife in your hands, which will give you precision cuts and control. All for just 289,900 naira only.
You need to have this. Non-stick, non-toxic, circulates heat evenly around. This is the new generation.
This is the new generation
in
actually.
Cooking.
Yeah, this is perfect for every home, for everybody cooking. This is perfect.
So order now, call up the numbers. Order now, order now. Don't forget the website www.shopxtv.com. Order now, start calling and get your cookware.
That is 249,900 naira for the Dream Collection and just 289,900 naira for the Ultimate Collection. And we're still not done. Place your order now and we'll deliver the entire collection for free. But hurry, this exclusive offer is for a limited time only.
The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
Hello and thanks for joining us on TVC News at 6. We begin in the nation's capital, where Nigerians have been warned not to travel to northern Cyprus because of the